Welcome back to the podcast with your host, Samantha.
And I'm Alexa. We're here to light up your life.
Today, we're joined by Andi Lew. She's a wellness expert, best-selling author of 10 books, certified food, lifestyle, and wellness coach, and she's also the host of the Well-to-Do podcast.
Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you, Andy.
Thank you, Alexa. Hi, Samantha. Nice to meet you both like this for the first time.
Oh, it's amazing.
Amazing. We're so ready to dive into today's conversation. I know that you've built such a dynamic career in both wellness and the media. So, what is the first thing that drew you into this world?
Oh my goodness. And I love that the podcast is called Light Up Your Life because literally the word light in Latin, light and lux, is from this word and this world of chiropractic, if you like, because what really drew me right into the wellness philosophy was the chiropractic philosophy. And so the word subluxation is light or life. That's the Latin word for it. It's a condition of the body void of that light or that life. And so your lifeline, which is your spinal cord and that's attached to the brain and the nerves, that can be compromised in communication from the brain to the rest of the body. And so chiropractors remove subluxation or vertebral subluxation and literally are restoring the signal from brain to body and restoring the light or the life back into your body again with clearer communication by alignment and nervous system interference removal. So I've been getting chiropractic checkups and adjustments for 28 years now on a weekly basis. I don't wait for a headache or any pain. I just want to be working at my best and functioning optimally. And so I think that's what really, I've always been in wellness, but that's what really launched my wellness career is understanding chiropractic philosophy and how the body works to heal through the nervous system.
I love that. And Alexa actually used to work for a chiropractor when she was really young, and I worked for him for a little bit as well. We definitely love getting adjusted. It feels amazing. I was actually just telling her I need to get an adjustment soon, but I love the philosophy behind that because I had no idea about that. So you moved from Australia to LA, and we were talking a little bit before the show. So how did that shift open new opportunities and challenges within your wellness journey and your career?
Yeah. So I've been living in Los Angeles for 3 years. I'm on an extraordinary talent visa. So apparently I'm extraordinarily talented in television hosting and as a wellness and lifestyle expert. It was a full-on visa to get. You had to prove that you were better than nobody else in this country. Like nobody else can do this job in this country the way I can. And really it was just a merging of my two favorite skills that created this unique role for myself as an author. As you said, I've written 10 books. They're all about health, wellness, relationships, parenting, birthing, nutrition, all the things. And so, merging that at the essence of health education, merging all of those things that we are born to do is where I really started, I guess, taking off. And I was coming backwards and forwards to America on press tour with my 10 books. And the producers would always say to my publicist, she's amazing, let's get her back on. And that really planted a seed and it made me never forget that statement. Obviously, I'm still talking about it now. But after 6 years, I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply for this one extraordinary talent visa and I will become a regular. That America does need me. And so fast forward, here we are now. I'm actively involved in Maha Action and, really educating the country on how they can live a better quality of life naturally and making America healthy again. But at the same time, I'm making Australia healthy again.
I know that you've shared on Instagram about embracing turning 52 and you look amazing. So we really want to know, what does becoming ageist really mean to you beyond the physical?
Yeah, thank you. And, I was going to get all dressed up for like the podcast and wear like a jacket or a shirt and everything. And I was like, most of the time I'm in active wear and I'm always doing something active or stretching or moving, just making sure it keeps me accountable. Not everybody can go to work with the active wear on, but when I'm not at work, I go straight into active wear or something relaxing because, it's just so important to walk your talk. And I really do. And that's why at the age of 52, people say you look 15 years younger or whatever it is, because, it's not just movement, but it's how you think, how you plan your life, how you let go of stress, how you free your mind, how you heal generational trauma. and how you allow your body to better assimilate nutrition through the workings of the nervous system with chiropractic care or with thoughts and, hormonal health and gut health and all of the things. But I think the things that people really forget about is that when you actually mindfully and actively avoid all drugs, all toxins, medications, where possible, and eat organic where possible, and even down to like, I haven't worn antiperspirant for maybe 25 years. I haven't worn sunscreen in the notion that, the traditional sort for, again, 25 years or something. And I'm so mindful of turning off tech when I can, like before I go to bed, or trying to go to sleep with the lunar cycle and waking up with the sunrise for, optimal melatonin production or synchronization of circadian rhythms. Like so many different things. If you keep doing that, you will definitely see it pay off. Now, a lot of people are about that quick fix and not really looking at, is their home healthy? Are you just going, it's just a normal headache and I'm just taking a normal painkiller, pain medication once a week, once every 2 weeks. Those things aren't normal, and they're destroying the microbiome and the gut health and interference with the nervous system. And for the most part, it's actually blocking micronutrition absorption. So here I am, as I naturally would be, and that is to show you that it's not just the face that may look younger, but the tone in the body is younger too, because I'm doing health from within and not just freezing my face or whatever anyone else might be doing.
We talk about everything that you just mentioned all the time. We're very mindful about the thoughts that we think, what we put in our body, exercising, sunlight, gut health, parasite cleansing. So we're definitely on the same page. I'm curious because you mentioned about pharmaceuticals. I'm sure you know that RFK Jr. made the announcement today about how Tylenol affects autism. There's direct correlation. So if you wouldn't mind diving in a little bit more to that, because we would like to educate our audience about, how truly harmful those things can be to your body.
Yes, and I read some research about mothers to be who were having certain shots as well, were being advised to take the Tylenol at the time of pregnancy or, all sorts of things. So, I mean, there must be some further research and investigation to be done. But for the most part, I am a fan of the current administration doing some kind of investigation and having radical transparency around, I guess, at least listening to mothers. And I heard RFK Jr. saying, we actually want to listen to the mothers and believe all the women and no longer allow them to feel what they call gaslit, medically gaslit. And, I know what that feels like, having been medically gaslit by 6 surgeons and an MRI who told me that I was fine when I stupidly had breast implants put in about 9, 10 years ago and I was actually dying. So, there are so many different types of medical gaslighting that is going around because people don't want to believe that this may be true, because it then would challenge your whole way you practice or challenge anything you've ever done and rethink, or maybe, change your business model. So it can be really confronting for a human, but it's necessary. It's necessary to ask these questions, to have a look at the other side of science now, because America really is the sickest country in the world. It's just shocking that we have to say that, but 76.3%, the CDC was the last figure that was announced around how many Americans have chronic illness or disease. In 1950, it was 3%. So that's just stunning that people have in the government health agencies and in previous administrations have kind of just ignored those stats and allowed it to escalate. So I think that's why you see a lot of pushback, a lot of, anger from the other side and everything, because nobody likes to be told that maybe they could have done their job better.
Yeah,
So true.
there's so much to unpack there, but I want to go to one of the points that you've made. And I know that you shared this in your book. So, in your 10th book, Treasure Chest, you actually shared your experience with breast implant illness as well as your explant journey. So, can you share a little bit more about that? And what was the reason or the turning point where you felt like you needed to go ahead and tell that story?
The turning point is all about truth right now. And that turning point for me It's hard to not get emotional thinking, and when I say those words, the impact that it's had on the world. But that turning point for me is, oh my gosh, it's hard not to cry. It's not about me. It's about the millions of others that have never sought answers and not been believed and are literally dying because they're unwell. So for me, it was Treasured Chest was the conduit for all the other subjects around the forever customer and, impossible beauty standards. And what happened to me was that, I had these breast implants and I had done it as a result of some kind of trauma that had happened in my childhood, which you'll read about in the book. And that's why on the front cover, I've got my hands on my heart covering the chest and showing the scars. And it's not on the chest because it's not a sexual feeling for me. It's what's behind the chest is the heart. And I know that a lot of women can resonate with that. And for me, I did so much psychology that I realized that these devices were covering my heart. And I had to do the deep work when I removed this armor from my heart and I was to expose who I really was, what I was really feeling, and had to do the deep work on that. A lot of readers read through that and went, wow, you're making me realize, I had some stuff too happen to me, which is why I had augmentation. And now I need to address that. But there is new data to support that breast implants are indeed the inflammatory driver, creating a cytokine storm or this immune response, which is actually MCAS or mast cell activation syndrome. And that is the immune cells attacking each other because of the foreign body within the body, and the body doesn't want it there. And quite simply, in one of my other health books, the eighth one called Connected, a paradigm shift in how we view health, that book talks about, perception and, are we really sick or is our body working towards an immune response? Is it a sickness response or is it immune response? So let's work with the body to help it. Now, the way the body needs help is that it wants to heal by expulsion. When it has a toxic substance or something in it, it wants to expel it through an orifice. That orifice could be the nose or the mouth when we sneeze or we cough. The orifice could be through vomiting, through the other end when we need to expel something toxic. Again, through the pores of the skin, which is another orifice, you could get a rash as a result of wanting to expel something that's in the body, whether it's chemicals from personal hygiene products or an allergy to a certain food, and it comes through that orifice. So imagine what breast implant illness is, because it starts to contract because it has nowhere to go and it wants expulsion. And that's when the body starts walling it off with this surrounding scar tissue, which is called the capsule. And that capsule wants to protect it from the rest of the system. But the capsule is the system because everything's connected. So if you think about how innate intelligence works to adapt to stress, physical stress, toxic stress, emotional, all the stress, this is another stress, and it just can't adapt anymore. So the system starts to shut down. The natural detoxification pathways start to shut down. Gallbladder, liver, kidneys, digestive system, you get SIBO, gut, small intestinal bowel overgrowth, and the body just can't expel the toxins anymore and it wants out. So it gets to the point where these women who are hiding in these subculture groups online are all supporting each other because they can't afford the $14,000 and up surgery. There's not enough surgeons that can remove that surrounding scar tissue as well, because that needs to be sent off to third-party labs to be sent for the new types of cancers, squamous cell carcinoma and anaplastic large cell lymphoma. You can't just take the implant bag out. You have to also take that out because the way the body was walling that off, it can absorb all of the, it could be heavy metals, or sometimes there's mold and it needs to be all intact. If there's a rupture, it needs to be taken out as one full piece, and then the explant surgeon will cut open that capsule and then pull out the bag and inspect the bag. So it's a sort of a two-part process there of what needs to be done and what are the two things that are making the wearer sick. So yeah, I nearly died. I didn't. And I realized that I'm here now to tell this story. And I thought so many times, why do I have to talk about the breasts? And I was like, I can't do it. I don't want that to be my mission. But that's why I carefully used the word chest, because as I said, what's behind the chest is the heart. The chest is so much more. So that's the turning point of women who are waking up to the medical gaslighting, but then feeling stuck because they can't afford it and the medical system's corrupt. But there's this running theme in the world now of truth coming out, which is, I think, why I was getting emotional. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's hard to talk about. We've had quite a few women come on our podcast and they talked about their implant journey and their explant journey and how their heavy metals were through the roof and how they just felt really sick. So what were your symptoms when you were going through that?
Yeah, for those who might be listening or have friends who have implants and or even a health professional, if you're a chiropractor and you're adjusting someone and they have headaches, blurry vision, lethargy, anxiety, depression, typically adjustments along with a healthier lifestyle and a toxic free lifestyle should make that person or patient get better. And if you've been looking after them for X amount of time and they're still not getting better, and that person has implants, you might want to actually give them my book, Treasured Chest, and let them think, sheesh, maybe that is me. Maybe it's time for me to look at that, because you're doing them a disservice by ignoring that inflammatory driver. Some of the other feelings that come up when people go get their blood work done, could be kind of known as post or premenopausal type symptoms. And so they get told like, you're fine, you're going through menopause, or you just have autoimmune. But at the end of the day, like literally everyone that removes their breast implants and the capsule feel immediately better. So even if you just were going through a menopause type of a symptom, you don't have this exacerbating inflammatory driver. You're going to be doing so much better, because menopause even doesn't have to be the way in which it's sold to us, again, so that we can just give another pill or drug someone up for it. You are going to have some kind of changes in your body, but it shouldn't be so like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So there are lots of things that you can do to minimize certain symptoms. But for me, I had the inability to sweat. Like I couldn't sweat. My body wasn't sweating anymore. It's very dangerous to go into a sauna with silicone implants. Saline implants can cause mold. The valve is not actually sealed forever. So you can have fluid coming in, fluid coming out, bacteria. It's very dangerous as well. I actually had feelings of suicide. I wanted to kill myself because I was waiting for 2 years to try and get triaged, because this MRI said that I didn't have a rupture. But I kept pinpointing right here on the left side. This is where I can feel it. There's something wrong here. And it felt like a lump. And that was where this excruciating pain was. And so, can you imagine 6 surgeons read my MRI and my scans and they all said that there was nothing? Like, this is iatrogenesis at its best. Medicine isn't a perfect science. There's also hospital and medical error. So that's what iatrogenesis is: the wrong medicine at the right time, the right medicine at the wrong time, and just human error. And so when I got woken up from the operating table, the professor who did my surgery in Australia, he was the one that I chose in the end. He said, wow, you're better than an MRI. Rupture was exactly where you were pinpointing it to be. Indeed, you did have one. You've taught me a lot today, and I'm going to have to go back and check my patients. He wrote the foreword to my book, and he was like, I still can't believe how intuitive you are. The thing is, I can't believe that men can't believe how intuitive women are. It's like women's intuition is a thing. Mum knows best. We're designed this way. So, of course, I was right. But a lot of us get told to numb out the pain, block it out with alcohol, drugs, medication, all that stuff. But this is why the book Connected is so important. And, having a goal in life to not be on drugs and medication, to be in tune with your signs and symptoms, because they'll tell you the next step of where you need to go. And full disclaimer, I'm not giving medical advice. And if you need drugs or medicine, whatever, you talk to your doctor. But I'm saying that there are many situations where you can go about your health differently, and the team needs to work with you on that goal of not needing drugs. But also trust your gut. So if you have some of those symptoms, another big one is hair loss. So my hair fell out in chunks, and honestly, it hasn't really grown back. I've got hair extensions, but this side here became very, very thin. And I think what's happened is, lucky I've got this runway, you know, that I can part and sort of hide it like a man might have with his comb over when he's bald. I know that this is not really ever the same. And it did start with the breast implant illness. But then when I had the bags and the capsules removed, it started growing back. But then other toxic stressors impacted, and I won't go into that, but then it started falling out again. So you're never really the same after a situation like that. You really have to work on your health and detox a lot after having had breast implants. Yeah.
I really resonate with your point that you need to trust your gut, right? It's so important to be an advocate for yourself. And if you feel like something is wrong, really communicate that to the health professionals and the doctors that you're working with. But one thing that I really am curious about is how did you end up deciding on the surgeon that you ultimately trust? Or you did mention earlier in the podcast that it was really difficult to find the surgeon that's going to do this correctly. And we don't have enough healthcare professionals that know what they're doing when it comes to explants.
Yeah, and a lot of the women are getting misguided and saying, "Oh, just do the cheaper option. I'll just take the implant bags out without the actual capsule, that explant." That's called complete capsulectomy, total capsulectomy, or en bloc surgery, ENBLOC. And it's an oncological procedure, basically. But, women are desperate. They want to save money. And if the doctors are telling them, just take out the bags, it's going to be cheaper. And also, it's a much bigger scar when you have to take out the capsule as well. If you take out the bags, it's tiny. They say to you, there's no research to support. But my whole theory is, and now I've forgotten your question, but I just want to go off on this tangent, because my whole theory is that if we don't have women taking out the capsule as well, they could potentially still have their autoimmune symptoms, their hair loss symptoms, their perimenopause symptoms, etc. And then we can have all the doctors and research saying, well, you see, they took out the implants, but they're still sick. You actually have to take out the capsule as well to be well. I remember the question now, and it was like, how did you choose your team? So I had, on that note, a very good doctor who I'm working with as a certified food, lifestyle, and wellness coach. I have a team of people that I refer people to if they need doctors. And this doctor that I've been working with for decades, when I used to own my own wellness practice in Australia for 11 years, she was an integrative medical doctor and a medical doctor. And we worked together, co-managing people. And one day she reached out to me on Facebook and said, "Bella, are you well?" And I was like, "Not really." "And why?" And she was like, "I'd like to consult you." And she tried to tell me that I had breast implant illness, and I didn't want to believe her for about a year. And eventually I was having psychology for PTSD diagnosis, and I was doing that for about 2 years. And then the psychologist said to me, "Oh, listen to you talking with such positive psychology. It's no longer clinical psychology." And that was my aha moment, because I was like, well, then why do I still feel like killing myself? Because I did feel positive. I was speaking with all these wonderful things that I wanted to do for the world, but yet I felt like I wanted to die because I was dying. And so I went back and told Dr. Tanya Ash, "You're right. I think I've got BII." And then I was ready to look for the right surgeon. By this point, I'd had a meeting with somebody in Australia, but I knew that I needed to come to America to start my visa. And he was like, "Oh, you've got time because there's no rupture, etc." So I was like, "Well, you know what? Let me go get started. I'll get set up and everything, and then I'll come back and do it in 6 months' time or whatever, once we've got ourselves set up in the country." But I remember getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And by the time I tried to look for surgeons in America, they were much more costly. They were much more booked up. And one surgeon even said to me, this is really hard to say it without getting angry or upset, but he actually said, "You can't have this explant without a psychological assessment." And then he wrote an email to the professor, the first surgeon that I saw in Australia, and said, "Do not operate on her until she's been seen by a psychologist." This is medical gaslighting at its finest, girls. So I was livid. And of course, my female psychologist said, "What a joke. Like, let me write a letter." By the time I did, I went back. So I did full circle. And I went back to the first guy in Australia because he wasn't really like implanting, he was just explanting, and he was a professor. So he was researching, and it felt like he was the guy because he wasn't about aesthetics. And I started realizing this is the first time in the world where we go to doctors for health second and aesthetics first. What are we doing? You know, it should be health first. So I wanted to change the way the profession practices and wake up all these surgeons to go, well, you actually are doctors. Where's the Hippocratic oath to do no harm? So when I went back to Professor Diva in Australia, he works out of Sydney Macquarie University. Again, he's in my book. It was difficult getting on that plane because there was a rupture there and I didn't realize. But as we were descending, it was excruciating. And I was holding onto that left side on the plane, just going. And then my son was sitting next to me going, are you okay, Mum? And I was like, not really. This has to be over. And then the flight attendant unbuckled and came over and said, is your mum okay? Because I had my eyes closed. He was like, I think my mum has a rupture in her breast implant. And she said, oh my God, this descent, it would be pressurizing her. And I'm just so glad I made it. I hadn't passed a bowel movement for 10 days before my operation. So I was really just ready to get them out. And then, of course, everything started going back to normal as soon as I woke up. I didn't have the symptoms anymore.
Wow, that's a really intense story, and I'm so glad you made it through to be able to share it with so many women. How do you think sharing your own explant journey has deepened your connection with women around the world?
I think women feel relieved that I have the courage to talk about such a deep, heavy subject, that it takes the weight off their deep shame, because that's the first part of healing, is that we have to remove the shame and start forgiving ourselves. Because there is an international narrative of, well, you did this to yourself, so why should I care? And when they hear my story, I really have made a movement, if you like, a bit of a hashtag Me Too movement, where they go, well, I felt the same too, and I can come out. So I think that's definitely impacted a lot of women from me being so vocal about it, and also in a nurturing way, not really in an angry way, in an empowering way, that then I take you through how to find the right team, how to make that surgery work for you, how to get your team to do it the way you want. Much like when a woman is birthing and, the system tells her we've got to have stark lights. And if you're not pushing it out by this time, we've got to get intervention. We've got to have suction, forceps. And then there are other women who want to have a more natural birth with dim lighting and, avoiding this and that where possible, if it's safe to do so, and having a birth plan. So if you have a look at women's health in general and women in the medical system model, it's always been quite disconnected, and again, bringing it back to that empowerment and that intuition and that nurture that we are is what is so important. So I think women are now embracing their flat. I've got mastectomy patients who've not even reconstructed because they didn't want to remove one breast cancer and potentially replace it with another.
Wow. And what is the message that you would actually share with some of these women, whether in your practice or even with our listeners today, who are worried about aesthetics and their bodies changing, right? So some women might be feeling symptoms, but they're terrified of removing and what their body will look like after. So what message would you share with those today?
Yeah, I understand. I cried rivers. Like, I'm smiling now because I'm just tired of crying, but I cried rivers for nearly 2 years because I was scared of how I was going to look. I remember saying I didn't want to see my scars. And I said to that particular surgeon that said she's not fit for having the surgery, psychologically, I said I would perceive those scars as my war wounds. And he went, oh, war wounds. In hindsight, he was just impressed with my creative language because I'm a writer. But what he could have done was gone, well, that's impressive language, but, really, it's not that, and placated me, right? We placed so much instead on what are they going to say? But when you take the power back and you kind of go, hey, it doesn't have to be a big scar that is perceived as a war wound. And I wrote about this in the book. It could be where my beauty lies. Those scars tell my story, and that's my beauty, because if you look at the Japanese kintsugi approach, of gluing back the porcelain with gold to highlight the cracks in the floors instead of clear glue to hide it. That's what makes it so beautiful. So is it the Western world culture is a bit bleaked up, or is it, who's really to blame? Is it us? Is it the culture? Have a look at all of those things and really take control of your journey, because I got told that I was going to look saggy. I'm 50, I'm going to look saggy. And I was like, two things. First of all, I don't look saggy, but if I do, my perception of what's wrong with a bit of sag. We're not supposed to look rock hard, bolt on. We call it Michael Bolton in Australia. Michael Bolton, they're bolt on. It's not supposed to sit like that. It's supposed to be soft. Women are soft. Also, I know that through chiropractic and through pectoral rehab, your posture can change the way your cage sits, the way your chest sits. So, of course, if you're going to be like that, everything's going to sag and your stomach's going to sag and you're going to age, literally. Or you could change your posture and everything is gorgeous in alignment, right? But for these mastectomy women who are like doing the get ready with me and they're completely flat and they're doing get ready with me with no top on and they're getting dressed because there's no breasts there. And I'm just like, you are my hero. You are beautiful. Like, this is incredible. Go you. And I do. I look to this one friend on Instagram. I've never met her in real life yet, but yeah, I talk to her all the time and I'm like, you are amazing. Her name's Erica. If anyone wants to know who she is, please reach out to me privately and I'll put you in touch. But she's such a beautiful role model, and she's a fashionista and goes to New York Fashion Week and talks about how to dress with flat. And oh my gosh, women, you are so much more than being viewed as what's on your heart. It's just, embrace that. I've never seen an unattractive person with a smile. That's what makes you attractive. So just smile more. And that's the light up your life motto, isn't it? Be a light.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's going to make everyone feel lovely and beautiful and what that true definition of beauty is, which is confidence, posture, health, the light that you shine from your heart, all of those things.
Yeah, the light from within. Love your perspective on that because it's really the story that you tell yourself, right? Are they battle wounds? Are they going to make me look awful? Or from your perspective, it makes you who you are and it's part of your journey and that's what makes it so special. So, well, you've done so many roles. You're an author, you're a TV host, you're a coach, you're also a podcast host too. How do you personally stay grounded and aligned with your wellness practices?
Yeah, so the beach is very healing for me. I run away to the beach all the time when I can't handle life. There's something about being earthed, as you know, is so healthy for you. Those red blood cells just disperse immediately when you're connected, like an earthing wire that an electrician would use. They need the earthing wire there so you don't get fried. Well, that's what's happening in our everyday world. When you earth at the beach, you also have the negative ion charge. Your heartbeat starts synchronizing with the rhythm of the waves. You have the magnesium and other minerals coming from the sea. And so if you don't live close to the beach, you might have a forest or something, but you need to immerse yourself in nature. It's a non-negotiable. Chiropractic is my other wellness practice because it literally connects me to source, God, the universe, because what happens is you have an innate intelligence and an innate wisdom, which is the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves that are responsible for every single system in the body. But what's running that innate wisdom or innate intelligence? It's the universal intelligence. So something greater than us is running us. So whether that's through prayer or through chiropractic, because you're connecting to source by literally taking pressure off the nerves so you have a clearer communication and lifeline to source. This is what keeps you grounded or earthed or alive and connected, which is the title of my 8th book. You need to stay connected to your body and to source. And when we are in that fight or flight posture, we have our hearts protected. You don't see, I guess, depressed people walking around with posture like this, do you? You only see them in a boxer's pose. There's less blood in the brain and it's all in the extremities, ready to pounce or wrestle. So yeah, think about the philosophy behind chiropractic and why, to me, it's gospel. Having said that, there are chiropractors and there are chiropractors, just like there's good and bad Chinese restaurants. But does it mean we've got to be racist and say all Chinese food is bad? No. It's just that you may have had a bad experience at that particular fish restaurant. Or, as I said, like whatever it is, you can't label something if it was a bad experience. So you look at it very individualistically and go, was that perhaps that chiropractor just a reflection of where they were at in their personal life, maybe? Does that mean that the profession isn't bad, but maybe that person just wasn't on game? So, like, look for the person that's really walking their talk that you aspire to, in the same way that you are going to believe what I say because I look fantastic for 52. The same way that you will go to a hairdresser with fantastic hair because they're walking their talk and they do a good job on their own hair. So therefore they're going to do a good job on your hair. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, I think that is the way to go about selecting your team, playing earth, and doing what's right for you. At the end of the day, you know what's going to resonate with you, as cliche as it sounds. Again, following that intuition and finding what you think is going to work, because chiropractic for me is everything, because it is the nervous system, which is the master controller, it's the conductor of the orchestra. But somebody else, if they've got a complete charge to it for whatever reason, I was going to say it might not work for them. They might resonate with acupuncture or something else. But having said that, when I ran the practice for 11 years, people would bring in their babies. And the babies had no idea with colic or constipation or whatever. They had no idea what the chiropractor was doing to them. And mind you, it's about the same pressure if you had to check or put in, your contact lens in like that on your eyeball. It's the same pressure when you're adjusting a baby. It's not a manipulation. But the babies had no idea what was happening to them, and they got better. So this is why I'm saying it's a miracle that when you take pressure off the nervous system, your body just starts to regenerate instead of degenerate.
Yeah, I think you're such a great advocate for chiropractic care. And like Samantha mentioned earlier on the podcast, I used to work for a chiropractic family. So actually, we talked about this right before the podcast. Both the wife and the husband were both chiropractors. Now all three of their children are becoming or are chiropractors. So it's a long tradition of like very common beliefs, but a lot of those you've explained really, really well. And it's truly amazing to hear what passion you have for chiropractic.
They're going to love this episode, and you'll have to tell them. In 2009, I won an award from the Chiropractors Association of Australia for my dedication to the profession in public education. And to this day, no one who's not a chiropractor has ever won an award like that. It's just that it changed my life, and now I'm paying it forward to the profession because it continues to save my life. And my son's never had any kind of pharmaceutical in his body at all. And he's been adjusted since he was born. And really, chiropractors are very well respected by the current administration and Maha, and very involved, because they really are the doctors of the future. Like Thomas Edison, the quote that he said, the inventor of the light bulb, Thomas Edison said, "The doctor of the future will give no medicine. He or she will rather interest his patients in the care of the human frame and in the cause and prevention of disease." And if you think about, that's what chiropractors are doing. They're doctors, which means teacher or to educate. They're not giving medication, but they're addressing the root cause and allowing people to help heal their body naturally where possible. This is really important that, your kids are becoming chiropractors too. We need more chiropractors. We need more people serving people so that their bodies are working better naturally and not relying on pharmaceuticals. I saw a video clip of Charlie Kirk. I found it really sad. Obviously, all clips are when you watch them, that, he was so like beautifully, just naively, beautifully saying, "I just had a chiropractic experience with this guy. And tell me, what did you do to me?" he said. And then he said, "Well, I removed this and I did that." And the chiropractor was explaining what he did. And then Charlie said, "I couldn't wake up this morning. I was bedridden," or whatever he said. "I couldn't get off my back," he said. And everybody said I was going to need medication. I need to go to the hospital. I was doomed, whatever. But yet the chiropractor just did this adjustment, and here I am now making this video. Isn't it wonderful?" he said. And I was just like, oh my gosh, there are so many people that have those moments where they finally go to the chiropractor, even though the doctors didn't tell them to, and they can have so much success in healing naturally. Imagine living your life and not ever experiencing it, or only experiencing it when you're 32. Imagine how many car accidents you've had, how many bumps and falls when you're a kid trying to learn how to walk, the high heels and the impact of that, all your stress of being sedentary, the chemical toxicity that's impacting on the nervous system, and, emotional toxicity. And then you still don't set the nervous system free. No wonder we're like not functioning at our best. I want that for the world.
Absolutely. I mean, what you put in your body, what you consume, the people you surround yourself with, and everything, it's all interconnected, like you were saying. It's important to get adjusted. I actually want to get adjusted this week. Now that we're talking about it, I'm probably going to book an appointment with my chiropractor. But you also talk about being on one's divine path. So what does that look like in your own life right now?
Yeah, when an Australian journalist asked me what it was like to go to the official MAHA inauguration ball in Washington, D.C. And I just saw a chiropractor who was the dean of Life University in America. I hadn't seen him for 20 years. And another chiropractor that I saw at the New Zealand College of Chiropractic and hadn't seen him for 20. We all looked the same. He aged so well. The whole room was vitalistic. It was so filled with people that were hardly drinking alcohol, dancing and celebrating life. I saw this is why I'm now working in every endeavor to help people join MAHA Action. And it was just profound. And so I said to the Australian journalist, I'm on a divine mission. Divine comes from the word divinity. And so if we are serving something greater than us, and that's our mission, that's when you're truly living, isn't it? We're just here to serve and love. It's exhausting sometimes, but it's certainly what life is about. I never question once, why am I here? What am I doing? Because I've accepted the divine mission. I could easily just tap out and go into victim mode and go, why me? I've got scars and like this still hurts and my hair now and I shouldn't have and my stupid doctor. And you could blame the world forever, or you can forgive yourself, which is what Erica Kirk showed us what divine forgiveness is, that you need to forgive to heal. And this I cannot understand yet. And I'm still wanting to marinate on it and pray on it and just really take it in, because I'm learning divine forgiveness. But this is like next level forgiveness. This is like you have to accept the mission and stop saying, why did this happen to me? And then say, why is this happening for me? I can't wait to learn the lessons and the blessings from this. That's why when you see her face, it's mixed with equal parts sadness and equal parts peace. Like it's that knowing of that's going to give me not joy, but solace in the heart of that divine mission acceptance. It's not meant to be easy. Life is supposed to be the gamut of all of the joy and hardship. It's all of the things. So I think if I can share that message with people that when you find the peace in the stuff that happened for you and turn it into a lesson, a blessing, and a divine mission, you will just always feel so fulfilled.
Well, that was an amazing message. To your point, it's really our past experiences that make us who we are, right? And we need to embrace them for what they are. Nothing is truly good or bad. I think we all have a tendency to say, why does this happen to me? When at the end of the day, if we don't fall into that victim mindset and we let that story empower us and drive us, it can really have a life changing impact on our lives as well as so many others. I know that you have your own podcast and you're a podcast host as well. You've interviewed and learned from thousands of people globally. We really would like to know, what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from other people's success along the way?
Yeah, so we were talking about becoming ageless and how that's my concept when I'm wellness coaching. And I have so much to teach to help people not age the way we've been taught. And then because I was a TV host in Australia and for many years a radio host, and I'm an expert in that, I was like, why wait for my own health show to be given to me? And I'm pretty close to probably getting picked up. But that's when I was like, well, I'm going to create my own show so that I can still host and have those skills in motion. But at the same time, I'm in America where there are so many healthy people and health professionals all over the country that would be so cool to like talk to and hear what their takes on things are. And now everybody from all over the country is coming to be interviewed by me from interstate, everywhere. I have a surgeon from Spokane in Washington. I had Troy Casey, the certified health nut from, I think he lives in Arizona. I had Mark Young from Radical Generosity, and he's from Florida, and just surgeons and doctors and health professionals and wise people from all over. And it's just been so perfect because you do learn something different from all of their different areas of expertise. But at the same time, because I'm a health professional too, I really ask the right questions. I'm like, do you think that that's because of, I've got that inquisitive mind? And so with this surgeon, we had an epiphany actually when we haven't released this podcast yet, but he's actually a facelift surgeon. But I chose to speak to him because I don't advocate Botox and fillers. And this podcast, when it comes out, you have to subscribe now and wait for it in the next couple of weeks. It's coming out because it is profound what we both discovered that he's finding when he's doing the facelifts, and he uses regenerative medicine. He's very much into nutrition and everything, and that's why I want to speak to him, because he's just not your average person. But yeah, he's finding things inside the body, inside the face, which I won't. So I don't want to spoiler alert, but it's just incredible. Yeah,
That sounds scary.
I know. I want to know what it is.
Everybody wants
it
to
is.
know what it is.
Yeah, it is. It's concerning, but the only thing I will say is it'll cement the reason why you probably shouldn't do fillers.
Okay. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
definitely have to listen to that one. But I know that there's so many different exercise techniques that you can do naturally to give yourself a facelift.
You know what? I was really stressed and worried. My forehead just looked so worried on a couple of the episodes a few months ago or something like that. And I was like, what is wrong? Like the lighting's not fantastic, but I just look really aged. And for about 2 to 3 weeks, I started working on changing my thoughts, which also changed the way I held my face. So it wasn't just doing the exercises. Like you can see a lot of people doing facial exercises, which can work because Botox is muscle paralysis. So that starts to create like a lax feeling, and all the muscles are paralyzed. And so when that wears off, that's when you're really going to start aging fast, coupled with the fact that it's a neurotoxin. So that's speeding up the aging, despite what they say. But when I started changing my inner dialogue, this part just softened so much. And it's okay to have wrinkles around the eyes and around the, like laughter lines make you look really attractive, I think. I think the lines in our forehead that we don't like so much because we don't want to look worried or angry and things like that, right? But then also, I'm a shiatsu massage therapist. So I've made a video, I'm going to edit it up, but it's about doing different, meridian lines and pressure points to allow better lymphatic drainage and blood flow in the meridian lines. And it is just amazing. So I've been doing this on myself, and it just lifts everything up because there's a meridian line as well, right? Kind of along from where the eyebrows are up until all the way up to the top of the skull. And when you press and release in this area, it just sends the blood flow into that pineal gland and that meridian line, and it just really wakens everything up. And I saw a slight difference immediately, but it's been 3 weeks, and I actually think my forehead's changed in hydration, in the muscle tonality, and everything just looks really much better. But I don't mind foreheads moving. Imagine you're in a relationship and your partner can't read your expression. Are
Yeah,
you really connected with them,
that's so true. Your mind is everything too. If you're saying you look more youthful and energetic, you're going to look more youthful and energetic. I love that point. If you could leave our listeners with one message about living well with their body, their mind, and their spirit, what would it be?
Definitely move more, because I know it's such a simple thing, but we are literally sedentary for about 8 hours a day. So I'm sitting on the sofa now, but for the most part, I will be in a squat position and use my coffee table as a laptop sort of thing. So keep everything sort of at eye level or above. You don't want to be doing this, and you don't want to be putting your laptop on your lap where all that radiation is going to go into this area of fertility, and the EMF or the electromagnetic fields, that's damaging. So yeah, move more, move in the way that our bodies are designed to, which was we should be squatting more, and become mobile, because a flexible body is a flexible mind, and we're not supposed to sit in chairs for this long or drive in cars for that long. You have to find ways to just keep moving that body, as much as you can. And if you can't, and you're not that flexible, even more reason to go and see a chiropractor and get some mobility back.
I agreed. Yes, definitely find a great chiropractor and get adjusted, right?
I mean, seriously, I don't even have a practice, so I have no invested interest in telling you this, but it is a game changer. It's one of the reasons why I have not aged very much. You only have to look at the works of chiropractic and epigenetics, which I talk about in my book, Connected. And that book, by the way, is available on Audible. So there's no excuses not to get it, because if you download the Audible app, you get 2 books for free, and then you can consume all of that content in 8 hours listening to an Australian accent.
I love it, and I love listening to books, so that's such a great idea. We encourage all of our listeners to go and to listen to it on Audible.
Yeah.
And to wrap this up, we want to do a really quick this or that challenge. So no overthinking, just first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Yeah. I love improv. Let's go.
All right. So ageless mindset or anti-aging treatments?
Ageless mindset for sure. I hate anti anything.
We knew that. We called that before. Okay, so book writing or podcast hosting?
Book writing, because everyone should actually write their own book and leave a legacy. And yeah, it's just such a healing thing to do, is to document your life story.
Oh, I love that. All right. Well, next one, LA wellness scene or Aussie beach lifestyle?
Aussie beach. I'm so sorry. I was going to be like, yeah, wellness scene's great. It's one of the wellness meccas in the world. Like, we've got Erewhon, we got all the things. But when you live on an Australian beach and it's that clean and it's just nature heals, and the beaches are so accessible to everyone. Like, we have only 27 million people in Australia, but that's how many people are in California. So
Wow.
it's just like you've got this whole place to yourself sometimes. It's amazing.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Okay, so TV red carpet glam or barefoot grounding in nature?
We know that one
Yeah, we
too.
know that one.
I'm a sucker for TV red carpet glam. Yeah. Yeah. I realized I worked for Press Pass LA on the red carpet and I hadn't done anything for a couple of months. We just weren't getting booked for some stuff. And then I really started missing it. There was something in my soul that was feeling empty. And then boom, last week I got booked for 2 jobs, a movie premiere with Josh Duell and all this. And I was like, woo, I'm in my element again. It was just, but then I don't know, it's a hard one, because obviously the beach grounding is so good, but it's what fulfills your soul too sometimes. And I love the red carpet jobs. Sorry.
Well, no, that's awesome. And I think we know the answer to this: chiropractic adjustment or yoga flow.
What was the second option?
Yoga flow.
Yeah, it's going to have to be chiropractic, but then at the end of the day, you can't do one without the other. You can't only get adjusted and then never move your body.
This one was a hard one for us to choose too. So smoothie bowl or avocado toast?
Probably smoothie bowl.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what we went with too.
Yeah, because I do love avocado toast, but then there's nothing like a good smoothie bowl, is there, when it's done properly? Like when it's just really at the right temperature and it's not too runny. My worst thing is when you get an acai bowl and they bring it out to you and it's already melted like a drink.
It's just
But when you get it at the right temperature and it's really like ice cream, oh, that's the best.
Perfect. Yes. Well, it was so great having you on this episode. If our listeners want to learn more about you, where can they find you, Andi?
Go to andilew.com, ANDILEW.com. Go to Instagram, andy.lew. And yeah, find my podcast Well To Do on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube.
Amazing. We'll definitely link everything in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here today. Our listeners are going to absolutely love this episode, and we're sending you all so much love and light.
Thanks for letting me light up your lives.